Alright guys, made a start on the new table for the Raglan lathe. Also stripped the lathe down and took all the old paint off. If you watch the previous videos you'll know it had this kind of hammered finish blue, which it's been blue in the past, but not hammered blue. It's that kind of blue, which it's been a light blue, grey, and then I think that's the original. So I'd like to get somewhere close to that, but the only paint my local car shop sells is Hammerite smooth blue, or the only paint that's somewhere close to that. So it's getting that. But before I paint, I've got to finish the bench off. So this is a new bench, a little bit higher than the old one, and I've also made it a bit deeper to get the mortar in under there, because originally the Raglan had a mortar on here which fed the variable speed unit, but you could get later, when Myford took over, they did a, what is it, they moved the motor down there anyway, so, and then just put a V-belt on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the mortar in here, and then I can get it closer to the wall, because the old table or stand, it was well built, solid, but it was too low, and the mortar, they had it, we'll say this is the back of the stand here, they had it hanging off these hinges, so it were out here. So the old thing were about 4 foot wide. Well, that's no good. Space is at a premium in this garage, so I'm going to get it. That's why I needed to build a new bench. That, and the other reason was, this is a hand wheel, and it's got numerous hand wheels on it, but this one's the main one for the apron. It's fairly self-explanatory. But on this bench, the hand wheel was all the way down here, making it a kind of, well, it seems like it's in the right place, but it's not. You want it about there, 90 degrees from your elbow or whatever. You don't want it all the way down there, that's no good. So on this bench, it's going to be about there, all said and done, which is spot on. I was going to put razor blocks underneath, but when I think about it, I'm quite happy with the height there as it is, and also this drip tray is a bit janky. What's it? 3mm, that's 3mm sheet steel. Well, not bad. I don't really need a drip tray, I'm not going to be running coolant. And the main thing with is you want a back plate to stop all the chips going down the back, and then you can never clean it out. So I think I'm just going to swap this for a bit of 4mm sheet steel, and then bolt the lathe directly to the sheet steel. And my idea was, I saw a cabinet online for the Raglan 5-inch lathe, and I'm going to try and copy that up. If I find the picture, I'll post a picture in this video. But I'm going to try and copy that cabinet to a certain extent. I know it's a lot of sheets, panel beaten sheet steel on the cabinet. Well, I'm not a panel beater, so it'll just be getting folded and welded. So now what we've got there, one sheet of 4mm, two sheets, one and a bit sheet of 4mm. So that's today's project, guys. I'm going to finish the cabinet off, mount the mortar, and we'll get cracking with that. 10mm plate notched for the V-belt. Alright guys, that's the cabinet virtually finished. Well, that's the main part of the cabinet built. Chip drawer. So I've decided to have a chip drawer there. So a couple of like a funnel, and all the chips just fall into that. Saves a mess. And you take that out and keeps everything reasonably tidy. So what I'm going to do now is drill 2 holes for the lathe, and you might notice that they're not in line, so I'm hoping it fits, but I did measure it before I took it off the lathe, and what's happened is the what's it called? Well, the original tray, the holes, the centres are square off the top, but it was, the lathe itself wasn't square. It was sort of Katie corner, and that would do my head in. So squared it all up, measured it, and it's turned out like that. So we'll see once I've drilled it and put it on if indeed it is actually square. So I'll get on with that now, guys. one in. Almost there. It's just going to want going through it 11mm bit. There it is. That's all right. That lathe is late 50s, early 60s. And I thought that's doing well. That, what is it, 60-odd-year-old, and it still worked before I stripped it all down. Hopefully it'll work again. But anyhow, never mind that. 1936, the motor. So yeah, pre-war. So I'm going to make a new bracket for the motor now, which will go under there. And because the original bracket, although it were a good use of scrap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of scrap steel. I do want it to look a bit better than that. So I've marked a bit of something up on some 10mm plate, and I'm going to cut that out, and that will be the new motor bracket. So I'm going to get on with that now. Alright guys, that's the motor in, and tucked away there, way better. Alright, well that took some doing. So I've got finally wired the electrics in, so it all works now. And got most of the cabinet built. Just got to put a shelf in down there in that little cubby hole. Down here I need to put a shelf in there, so put my chucks up there and then bits and bobs down there, you know. It's not rattling, you'd think it would with all this sheet steel, which will get better with paint anyway. All this is sealed off because, well, I'll show you. It's got the motor in, V-belt and some wires. So I just thought I'd just seal all that off, leave it an empty space, so hopefully it won't fill up with chips, and it keeps all the moving parts reasonably protected. So that's that job sorted. I've also got to make an end cap for that capacitor there. That could be dodgy. That needs a cap on it. So yeah, next job. Well, I've got to finish that shelf off, which I will do at some point, and then take the lathe off again, move it over to here, and then I've got to paint the cabinet, and then paint the lathe. So yeah, I'll get cracking with that, guys. Oh yeah. A good idea that came with the original cabinet was these plugs, so I wired them back in again. But I didn't like the switch down here, well, it was down here actually. It just seemed a bit dodge, so put the switch up here, and it's easy to get hold of. I think it's better up there. So yeah, get on with paint now, guys. We should be somewhere near ready for rebuilding the lathe then, which I probably will make into another video, because I've got to strip the quick change gearbox down, get all the bits of flakes of paint that got stuck in there. I don't want them getting mashed up in the change gears. Strip all that down and rebuild the apron, etc., lubricate everything. So, but now for this video, paint next job, and I'll get cracking with that. Alright guys, that's the cabinet complete and painted, and I'm happy with how that turned out. It's alright. It's fully bolted down now. It's fully bolted down, all 3 bolts. That's tensioner for the motor is, I've just kept the old hinge system, but added this locking nut. So last job that I need to do before I can paint the lathe is get rid of this samurai affair. So that needs to be way better than that. And also these bolts here, probably 10mm or something, or whatever they are, 12. They're the spacer for to keep take up the slack in the belt on that side. So I'm just going to use some proper measure that and put some proper packers in, weld them to this bit of box here, cut them down, and then sort of copy that cowling but here to protect the V-belt. Make the cowl now, guys, paint the lathe, and then we'll be about finished. Alright guys, so there is the new bracket for the I don't know what you call it, auxiliary drive of the. See, originally with the Raglan they had a motor here, custom made motor. Well, that were 60 years ago. Probably, I don't know when, but Myford moved it down there, and you could get a kit, but the one on this, I'll show a picture now, that wasn't a Myford kit, nor is this one, but it's a little bit more user friendly than the one that came with the lathe. So I've just got to finish this cowl off, and Raglan probably never thought people would be moving the motors down there, but so as a consequence everything's in a straight line. All the studs and the bolts go in a straight line. So yeah, I've had to faff around doing all these cutaways here, just so I can get the studs in, the ground flats on the studs, so I can screw them in to get my clearance to put my washer and the nut on. Obviously I've just put a bolt in that one, and then I've had to, you can't see it, but there's 2 holes, access holes at the back of here, so I can get a screwdriver through onto that flat there to screw it in and out. So all that's done now, guys. Everything's done on the machine. All I've got to do now is paint it. Well, I say everything's done. I need to just finish that off, get rid of the sharp edges, etc. Put another one of them on the other side, and then I'm on to paint. Alright guys, let's start with the painting. Painted all the bits I can take off the lathe. Alright, let's get some paint onto this. Alright guys, that's the lathe fully refurbished, and it's been quite a mission. I didn't get any footage of reinstalling the apron or checking the quick change gearbox out, simply because I didn't really know what I was doing with them two. The apron, I knew half an idea because I'd already taken it off the machine, but the quick change gearbox, I didn't know just what was going on in there, so I didn't bother recording any of that, because there's always the cast iron guarantee. When you take something in bits that you don't know what you're doing, there's always either a spring or a ball bearing in it, and they go flying across the workshop. As it was, it wasn't the gearbox or the apron, but it was the feed screw and lead screw. I got a spring and a ball bearing in that little sleeve there, and they went flying across the workshop. Fortunately I managed to find them, and it's all back working again now. One thing I will say about the gearbox and the apron, well, all the gears in general, they're all in very good order. So I mean, they're like brand new. And the ones in the gearbox were just the same. Everything's working now like a Swiss watch, guys. The only thing, the compound, just a little bit gritty at the end of its travel there. Probably, yeah, I think it'll come back with use. So what I'll do now, level up the machine, because yeah, it's a country mile out. I should have levelled it before I put Waze oil on. Give us a shout in the comments, guys, when the bubbles between the lines. Make sure you've got your caps lock on so I can hear you. So guys, if you want to see me go out and get more old machinery to refurbish, hit that like button. Too late, already got one.